happy day because Bardown Breakdown has returned. If you thought we weren't going to return, sorry, we did.
You're fucking wrong.
We've got the whole crew here. We've got Tommy, Justo, Mikey, and we have the pleasure of having with us our homie Ryland from the fantastic Origami Angel. Ryland, what's up, homie? How are you, buddy?
Doing all right. Thanks for having me on, guys. I'm super stoked to chat today.
Absolutely, man. We are.
No one's going to
also
comment
really
about
excited.
Tom's fucking sweater. What the hell are you wearing, dude?
Dude, it's my old Navy sweater.
All right.
You look like a club owner, like an Eastern European club owner.
Listen, man, I got to tell you, if I owned a club, it would be way better than cooking chicken thighs for 2 hours. So, I would be into that. So, speaking of clubs, so you guys kind of would say that you were born out of Washington D.C. and kind of the Washington D.C. scene. Would you say that's correct?
Absolutely. Washington, D.C. area. It's one of those things where, like, if I talk to someone around here and they ask me where I'm from, I say I'm from PG County, Maryland. I'll tell them that I live in Hyattsville.
Prince George.
You already know. But to the rest of the world, if you say that, they're like, oh, is that Baltimore? And like, not really,
No.
but also not far enough away from Baltimore to also be like, not totally. So we've always adopted DC. That's just where we've been close to. I've grown up my entire life here. It's an area I love. Me and Pat have both Prince George's County, born and raised. And so, yeah, we just, we are fucking 15 or less minutes from DC. I mean, right now I can walk in there. So we've always just said DC to the greater area of the world. So yeah, there's our local versus global destination that we're from. But yeah, DC is totally what has we brewed inside of the DC scene. Yeah.
Yeah, right on. So if you could actually kind of like, get the time machine and go back to kind of the genesis of the band 2015, 2016.
Yeah.
Were there any bands that were kind of around the DC scene that you guys really enjoyed or really loved that really kind of sparked this love for you to start creating music?
Yeah, dude. One band comes to mind as still one of my favorite bands of all time. The Obsessives. They are indie emo 2-piece band at the time. They eventually became a 5-piece band. But I remember being a very, very young, impressionable emo fan. I knew my classics. I loved American football. I loved Promise Ring. I loved all the Kinsella stuff. I loved everything that I was supposed to be told to love from the second wave. I kind of didn't like as much stuff from the third wave, but I had, enough of a language there to be able to talk to the people, my friends that like that stuff. But I was big in this fourth wave emo revival, the Snowings, the Algernons, the Hoteliers of the world. And then this band, the Obsessive, started popping up in DC around 2014. And they were younger kids. They're only like a year or two older than me and Pat. And I guess getting to see them do the shit, and I remember seeing them in a house show and having my mind just explode, man. Like I was like, there's no way 2 people should be able to make this much sound. And it hooked me. And whatever they did, like, this is a band I was a fanboy of. I had the tweet notifications on it, everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would consider myself a 0.00001 historian of the band. I collected vinyl, I collected tapes and stuff. But this one band, the Obsessives, and there was plenty other bands too in the surrounding areas, but I'm heightening in on them because they're very foundational in us starting the band. They put a demon in me to want to be a 2-piece band. And me and Pat were in another band. I had met Pat at a show that me and my friend threw. We had a last-minute band drop, and then we had a last-minute band add-on. Pat was the drummer of that band. In our band at the time, we were kind of going through a cycle of drummers who weren't actually our drummer. We saw Pat drum. We were like, hey, you're pretty damn good. You want to be in our band forever? And forever at that point when you're 17 or 18 is 4 months. So that's how long he was in that band before we broke up and went our separate ways. But then after that, me and Pat were like, well, everyone's moving away, but we kind of also still live here. We want to just keep fucking playing music. I remember taking him to an Obsessives house show. One of the last house shows they ever played as a 2-piece. And him and I just being like, God damn, that was special, man. Just like the amount of noise that they were able to make. It was really cool. Just to be able to see that. And I think that we had a moment there. I had seen them dozens of times, but that was the first time he saw them. And we kind of bonded over that. And we're like, we're going to give our best shot to try something like this too. Sorry, that's a really long tangent about DC, but that specific thing has so much to do with the genesis of the band.
Freaking beautiful story. I love it.
Yeah.
Well,
so
I'm just
what were some of your favorite venues to play in the DC area?
Favorite venues. Well, It's really interesting because when we were sort of starting to come up in that 2017 to 2019 time, um, the emo world had kind of fallen off for DC. There wasn't as much of the emo indie stuff happening. The bands like the Obsessives and their surrounding areas, they're either going a little more indie or moving to Philly or doing other stuff. There was still stuff happening, but it was mostly moved for our community into house shows. So just like friends of my houses, Planet Slush is one that comes to mind. A friend of ours who had a house in Adelphi. He went to UMD and he would just let us throw awesome ragers there. He put on such good shows too. That's where our Summer City release show was. That was awesome. But the real venue that we were playing in DC at the time was the Pie Shop, which, funny enough, my
Still
girlfriend
there.
and roommate works works at. Uh, yeah, so it's very full circle, but that was the place that we'd always play. It's very interesting. It was always one of my favorites, and now having a partner who works there, I'm there like 4 times a week, and I'm like, wow, still here, man. Like, still checking shows out at the Pie Shop. But after that, we've gotten the chance to play some really cool ones. Post COVID, I think the first show we played back was at Songbird, the new location. That one's really cool. We have so much love and affinity for the 930 family too, the 930 Club, the Atlantis. We've never played the Atlantis. I've been to a bunch of shows there, but playing the 930 Club, first time we ever played that, only time we ever played that was for the 5-year anniversary of Somewhere City and the release show, Feeling Not Found. That was one of the most special moments of my life. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about that too. But yeah, those two, we got to play the Anthem recently with Story So Far and Neck Deep. That was
That's
insane.
sick.
Sorry, as a helicopter's over me, looking for me. They'll never find me though. No, never.
Triangulate my position.
That's what I'm saying, man. It's nonstop up here. There's so much noise. So that's helicopters everywhere, but they don't know. They're looking for me somewhere. But yeah, those were just a few that we were like. Union Stage has been really cool too. The few times we've gotten to play it. But yeah, it's interesting for us. It kind of started in the houses, and before we had the chance to get up onto the 100 and 200 caps in the proper city, the world shut down for a year and a half.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think I was probably one of the last concerts to do DC9 before
Oh
the
yeah.
entire world shut down.
Jeez.
We were on tour at the time, and we were like, something's kind of weird going on, but we don't know what it is. So we played DC9. We did a house show in Virginia at the Yellow House, and
Yeah.
then we drove back up to DC to stay because we were staying with a friend. And we were in Georgetown, and they were like, hey, we can't sit you guys together at the bar. Like, you got to sit separately. We were just like, oh, we got to go back to Florida. Like,
Yep. Yep. There comes a time. I remember it was so interesting I have so many friends who would be on the road during that. I was at home and all my friends were trying to get me to come out to local shows for like the 2 weeks before. And I feel like I was tinfoil hatting at the time, but I was super right. I was like, nope, I'm not going to be there, man. I'm not going to do that. I will not be there. I will not be there. Skip down on a lot of great ones, unfortunately, but honestly, probably for the better for my health.
yeah,
Yeah,
honestly.
right on. I mean, like COVID was such a wild time, right? I mean, looking back on it, you're talking about at the height of it 5 years ago, where all four of us were versus where we are now. I mean, looking back, 5 years ago, we thought this wasn't ever going to be a reality again. I remember saying to Mikey, probably, 6 months into the pandemic, I think I'd said to him, I'm like, dude, like, are there going to be shows again, or are we just going to be moving towards like a live stream sort of
Yeah.
ideology where we're all just watching shows, but it's just a band playing in their basement, socially distancing from each other, and then
On Twitch. Yeah.
we're all paying for tickets online and going for it that way, and that kind of leads into you guys breaking Minecraft, which is like kind of one of the most incredible things. Not many people could say that their band literally tanked a Minecraft server, but you can say that. So
Sure.
did you have any idea that like you guys would garner such an audience that would happen?
No, dude. I mean, that whole story behind that is still one of my favorite things ever. Just because, so our good friends at the Summit Shack out there in Ohio that they do the Fochella every year. Fochella,
Right, yeah.
I don't think you call it anymore. Faux. We call faux so that we don't get sued. There was also a Snow, Ella, and there was many different festivals that they had. They were all really cool. We were supposed to play this one in April of 2020. Obviously, that got canceled. But they were like, we're gonna move it onto a live stream. One thing led to another. We were all on Discord back then, back in the day. Like we were all, and still like such good friends. We don't talk as much anymore because most of us are really busy with lives or children or jobs and shit. When we were, wide-eyed 20 and 21-year-old DIY kids, like, but that's all we were doing. We just hop into Discord, and especially in COVID, just be like, oh, here's what we're gonna do. So one thing led to another. They're like, oh, we're gonna try to do it in Minecraft, and we're gonna have videos or audio. Some people will play live, some people not. Me being probably I would say top 100 procrastinators of all time. I waited until the absolute last minute, and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna film this acoustic set. And I was staying with my parents at the time, and I went to a bathroom, and I was gonna just do it. And I looked back at it, and I was like, this is so fucking trash. I'm not gonna do this. And I was like, what's the easy way out? What's the easy way out? And I was like, I guess I could just open up Pro Tools and make some beats and work on it. One thing led to another, and I got and by the grace of God, somehow I locked in. Sometimes I just feel like when you're working on music, sometimes you become one with the computer. And I was like, fuck yeah, I'm in it. One thing led to another, and I built out this whole set of remixes in one session. And I was just like, I'm just gonna keep going. I'm just gonna keep going. As soon as I finish one thing, I'm gonna build another thing in the same session. Did that, and I was like, oh, this is 30 minutes of like little lo-fi remixes of our tracks and stuff with like fucking weird shit in it. And I was like, all right, bet. I had stayed up I started doing that at probably 8 p.m. and I stayed up until noon the next day, like in the manic mode, just trying to get it done. And I was like, damn, this is awesome. Sick. Submitted it, went to bed. I slept through the performance. I slept through when it debuted. I woke up and everyone was like, oh, it's crazy. Like the server broke and stuff. I'm just like, what the fuck? This is right recently after we signed to Counterintuitive. Jake is calling me out of my sleep being like, we have to press this. This is going crazy. I was like, what are you talking about? Dude, this sucks. Like, I was like, this thing is terrible. Like, I just did this in fucking, this was just a little, if we were in COVID, this would have never crossed my mind. But, I had nothing to do, there's nothing better to do. I don't even think I ate, like, I feel like I was just like, oh, I should probably eat some food. It's like 10 a.m. And like fucking made myself a bowl of cereal and went to bed for the next 8 hours. But we ended up with Broke Minecraft, and yeah, it's just a fun little thing. It was just so like haphazardly came together, and I loved that. And that was it was early COVID too. It was like April, so we're only a month deep, and so different like then versus the 3 months after and 3 months after that. Like quickly I got burnt out on the whole idea of a live stream show where I was like, damn, this sucks. Every time we would start to do it, I was like, this is not cool.
fun.
Like I don't feel like a cool guy right now or even a fun one. So but I'm glad that before it had worn off its welcome, we were able to create something so random and spur of the moment. That was a fun time to look back on for sure, given the circumstances.
Now, I'm just curious, like pre-COVID, Corey from Free Throw. Now, I'm not sure if you are familiar even with like this tweet that he put out. Like, just I'm guessing it was like 2019 because we had Corey on our podcast really early on, and like we were like following each other and engaging and whatnot. And then he blasted out like, yo, you got to listen to Origami Angel. And this is like 2019, like very early on, Somewhere City, like really early on. And then like I planned on going to see you guys at the Milestone here in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yeah.
And then COVID canceled that show. So like it was all in that time frame where this happened. And then like, I don't know, I feel like you guys got bigger as COVID kept stretching on. And it's like,
absolutely.
I think sometimes slowing down and letting things ferment is what bands need at times. And I feel like you guys were able to get it out before COVID, where like maybe if you released that during COVID, it wouldn't have taken off the way it did. But
Not at all.
It gave people a chance, an opportunity to actually give that record like time, right? And I don't know.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I
I
feel
think
like you guys
you're spot
benefited
on.
from it.
Yeah, it's crazy to say it. And also it's a weird thing to think about in general because like so many of my friends didn't know that they played their last show, you know, in their
Yeah.
band. So many
Right.
of my friends bands broke up, whether due to financial things, mental things. A lot of people, you know, were having a rough time and just like what it did to the collective artists' brains, I think can't go under under talked about, for lack of a better term. Like that you know, just from seeing so many people, so many bands didn't know that they were going to play their last show or didn't know that, you know, things are going to be different on the other side of that. Um, it is really strange to think about, but absolutely, I mean, I would be remiss not to mention that it absolutely helped us 100%. It also came to a time where it was like, okay, it was just when we had started to see any sort of return on the a million hours and however many dollars of investment that we put into the band, right? Just passively because of vinyl, because of streams and stuff, where it's like, oh, it's so weird. Like any expense that we would have for this band is gone now. Like we're not driving, we're not staying at places, we're not doing anything. We're just at home. And we were fortunate at the time that Pat had lived with his dad and I had just moved in back in with my parents. Um, and just between places. It was just such a fortunate position for us. It's crazy to talk about, but yeah, on the other side of it, we were a million times bigger than we were going into it. I remember the first real show that we played after COVID was, or I should say during, but after lockdown, was with Mom Jeans in Denver, and it was like, oh my god, like there's 900 people and it's sold out. The whole tour sold out before any show because they're just that massive. They're still that massive. They're 10 times more massive than that now. Uh, but yeah, it was insane to think. I was like, the last show we played was in a fucking house, man. You know, like and now we didn't have this medium phase. Like it was. I'm looking back on this kind of medium, but like we didn't have a phase in between. You know, we didn't have a phase in between the house and the sound check. You know, we didn't have the intermediate phase or playing 100 caps a half. It was very odd. Um, to think about how much we grew in that time. But yeah, it's crazy. I think there were a lot of people that had a chance to sit down and listen to the record. I think it connected with a lot of people in that time period, and like it's weird to say I'm grateful that it had the chance to do that, even though it was such a terrible time. It was an awful time for me. Um, I wish I could have seen how much bigger it was without, you know, without having to be on the other side of it. Maybe I would have felt a little good in the moment, but at the end of the day, it did kind of help build a career for us in a weird way.
I feel robbed, right? Because like I don't think at this stage in your career you guys are ever going to go back and play the milestone, but I would like kill to see that because it's like one of those intimate 175 cap rooms, historic, like bleeds punk rock. Like it is such a killer venue.
Yeah, it's an awesome space.
Awesome space. And I'm like, man, I don't know if they're ever going to go back there. I just like maybe me putting this out in the airwaves right now will spark something. But at the end of the day, I
I'm
feel
down
like I
for
was
whatever,
robbed.
man. It's everyone else that has to agree with it. I'm down for anything. It's most of the time I'm coming up with the dumb idea, like, hey, we should go do show in a cul-de-sac, and it's like, probably not. But you know, everyone else, yeah, I'll do whatever, dude. I just like we only got so much time on this earth. I want to make it filled with music and love, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Amen. So you've been to the milestone? You're familiar?
Yeah, we played there 3 times.
Oh, damn. So I must have missed it. You know, like I said, I got on 2019. I must have missed those early years when you guys played there, but special place.
Yeah, it's an awesome place. Or maybe we were supposed to have played there 3 times, but we only played there twice. I think we missed the 3rd one. But we played there in really early 2019 on one of the weekenders that we did with one of our sibling bands, Commander Salamander. And then we actually were at the milestone really early 2020 or late 2019. It was it was with Cheem, I believe. It was a pretty cool show. It was at the beginning of like the first tour we did once Summer City was out.
So sweet. That's awesome.
Okay. I'm looking at the timeline here, right? So
Mhm.
I'm looking at Somewhere City comes out in 2019, right? So the pandemic hits, and then the following year in 2021, you guys put out this whopper of a release in Gami Gang, right? Like I mean, 20 songs, like big, huge double LP pressing, like just a ton of stuff. And, you know, listening to Somewhere City and then listening to Gami Gang, like to to me, you know, it's like listening to a different band that kind of still has that Origami Angel flavor, but
Mhm.
it's like you guys like matured into this different band like damn near overnight. Now, I guess you could say that that was COVID, or I guess that you could say that that was, you know, the time you spent being able to be introspective, you know, being back at your parents' houses and all that kind of stuff, which I'm sure has some uh, you know, something to do with how the record came out the way it did. But,
Yeah.
you know, what made you decide to just like kind of throw everything at the wall with Gami Gang and put out so much music as opposed to like chopping that up into two separate albums? Like, what was the decision there?
Can I blow your mind real quick?
Please.
Every song except one on Gami Gang was written before we recorded Summer City.
No shit.
And I think a lot of people have the headcanon that's like, oh, COVID came and they got crazy. I always kind of had Somewhere City as this vision project where I was like, I would write a bunch of tracks and whatever felt right tonally, melodically, lyrically would go to that. And I feel like that record was all about being concise and like it has a feeling. You know what I'm saying? It had to be there. And there's some things that are a little outside the feeling that did make the record. To me, is 24-hour drive through is really the only one that felt like a little bit outside, but everything else had this feeling. I can't really describe that feeling, but I knew that it was that record. And everything else that I was working on at that time, when I was just this hungry fucking 19-year-old, 20-year-old kid, I would kind of just put aside into a demo folder. And I was like, this is going to be our mixtape, you know, like this is going to be whatever. Cause this, you know, I'm writing Somewhere City and honestly, Gen 3 and Gami Gang and all this stuff in this window of my life where no one really gives a fuck about the band. I'm just doing it because I think it's really fun. And the people that do care, we have a good time at the VFW hall and the house show, you know?
Yeah.
And I just want to make a million songs forever because honestly, like that's the thing I love the most in the world is being involved with writing or producing or recording music, just creating. It's so amazing to me. I love the feeling. I wanted to do as much as I could. So everything that wasn't really fitting, I would kind of throw into the Gami Gang or whatever folder that was and just say, okay, Neutrogena Spectre maybe doesn't fit Somewhere City. I have all these other Summer City songs. It's not what I need right now. I'm gonna come back to that later. No offense, doesn't really fit. I'm gonna come back to it later. Mobius Chicken Strip, I love it, but it doesn't fit right now. Self Destruct, I love it. I love it so much, but it doesn't fit. It doesn't make sense. And I'm a big proponent that if something doesn't make sense for the album that it's on, you're actually doing every song a disservice, right?
Service.
You know, I want to make sure that all the work, especially now, but even then, subliminally, I think I was thinking about it. Just like every song, every idea, it needs to get the proper treatment, the proper love. Just because, like, you only got so many in your life, you know. We only have so many songs. I want to make sure everyone is in the right place and every single one is in the thing. And then, kind of on the contrary of that, Gami Gang was this idea where I was like, okay, everything that is here that I also like and that I don't think could go on anything else in the future, that's this record. And it's just gonna be this chaotic. I wanted it to feel like someone threw up a whiteboard and scribbled out every idea that they ever had in their life, you know? And so there were a lot of songs. I feel like alluding to what you're saying, I had this conversation with someone a couple of days ago, a friend in a band that I've been recording, where it was like, yeah, we probably could have taken the best 10 songs from that record and just made it one thing, and people would probably like it more. Like, like if there was just the best 10, it would be talked about in a different way. But I also was like, I'm probably never going to use the spoons rattling interlude for anything ever. I want it though. I want it on something, you know? I'm probably never going to use all this other shit. I just wanted it out. And it was also at a time where it's like, it was solidified while recording the record in COVID. We didn't record it before Summer City, we recorded it after. But in that time, I was like, who knows if we're ever going to play a show again? Making records might be forever. Might as well make a record with 20 songs on it. And also, like, bands used to do that all the time, you know? Like,
Yeah.
it was a very, like, at the dawn of the CD, we're no longer held back by the 45 minute vinyl restriction, which stems all the way back to fucking people making concertos, you know, like
Yeah,
a 45-minute 4 piece. It's now we're free. We can be Smashing Pumpkins and put 27 songs on a CD. We can be Radiohead and do a 16-song album and then have single versions that have other B-sides and like 6 tracks that aren't on the album. That's kind of the mentality I was in. Whereas like, okay, let's pretend like the music industry has fuck you money the way that it did in the 90s, except we don't. We're just doing it in my bedroom so we can do whatever we want, you know?
That's the mindset you got to have sometimes, though. You just got to say fuck it and just go with it, man.
Go with it. Just
And
throw shots
it
up.
paid off.
I appreciate that.
It really did. And it's just like, it was so crazy to see the upward trajectory of you guys, like from like 2019 to current. And I'm a little bit jealous because now you guys got Drew doing front of house for you guys, and Intervention is probably one of my top Florida bands ever. So I gotta shout out Drew really quick.
Shout out Drew, bro. Intervention. Fuck, man. What a good band. I love Intervention, man.
Such a good band, man.
I got to play guitar in their second to last show ever.
That's sick, dude.
We did the release shows for The Brightest Days, and Drew produced that record, so I wanted him to be a part of it. They played on all of them, and they did shows up. They had a show in Philly a couple days after, and Justin, the guitarist, he has a family back home, so he had to go home and be with his kids, which is normal for people who have children. But Drew was like, okay, can you fill in? No practices, nothing. I was like, okay, I'm going to try to learn these songs. Super fucked up a track. I played it in the wrong tuning. It was one of the most embarrassing moments of my entire life because they're all so good at music, like all of them, that like the second that I started, they all just look at me like, what the fuck? Y'all didn't look. I would have fixed this on my own and no one would know.
You made it worse.
Because y'all are good. Like they're such a good band, one of the best bands, and even better live. Like they're so. Shout out Intervention, man.
Mm-hmm.
I can go on a 10-minute ramble.
I had to do a quick Florida shout out because I was just like, I can't go out with this conversation without shouting out Intervention really quick.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Shout out Jacksonville.
So you guys have like, but you guys also, so we talked about your relationship with DC, but as seen in the video for Sixth Sense, you guys have a relationship with Philly as well.
Yeah,
so like,
both me and Pat have a different relationship with Philly.
So what how are they different for you guys?
So his is very simple. Is that he lives there now. So that's incredibly simple. That one is really easy to do it. Mine a little bit more complex. Philly has always been. It's not that complex now that I think about it. My parents and my whole family are from the Philadelphia area.
Okay.
My parents met in Philly. And promptly moved to DC for work. But so I've grown up in this area my entire life, but I've also grown up damn near going to Philadelphia every fucking weekend. So it was like it was literally a second home. If I'm spending 2 out of 7 days as a child in Philly, or the Philly area, because I had family all over, like that's such a part of my cultural lexicon. And in terms of sports, my dad was he's chilled out a little bit now, but he was very, very toxic sports fan when I was younger in a sick way.
That just sounds like every Philadelphian ever.
Yeah, most of the adult men in my family. Well, when you're 4 years old and you see like your cousins and your uncles and your dad like all drunk and screaming at the TV, you're like, damn, that's
dressing
awesome.
up as Green Man, fucking.
Yeah, screaming at Andy Reid for calling a bubble screen for the 3rd time in a row. That's one of the coolest things ever. When you're 4, you're like, I want to be on it. I want to be one of the dudes. And then when you're like, 7 or 8 years old, and you can like be like, oh, they got to put in Jaquay Parker, and then they're like, oh, like then you get this like, there's this is literally, for lack of a better term, this brotherly love.
Yeah, it's a sense of camaraderie. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's camaraderie.
Community.
So yeah, my dad was kind of like, hey, you can root for other teams once you move out the house, but as long as you're here. I was 3 when we had this conversation for the first time. He's like, as long as you're here, you're gonna rock with the Eagles, Flyers, Sixers, Phillies, Union, like
everything.
I just imagine you as a little kid just being like, hey dad, like Ken Griffey Jr.'s on the Seattle Mariners, like that's cool, right? He's like, no, John Kruk, only John Kruk. Like you just gotta like put on like a Phillies jersey and you're just crying and your dad's like, stop crying.
Hey man, I was lucky enough to be pretty blessed with the Phillies. They were so good at such a good time in
They
my life.
were, man.
Uh,
That team was
when I-
great.
yeah, the 2007 to 2011 era started when I was like 9 years old. So it was such a prime window, and baseball is really different then, man. I feel like, and much like how you're in your life, you go through these cycles of like, oh, you can be a cat person, then dog person, a cat person, dog person. Like it makes sense for different points as you are in a family. I don't know if that makes sense, but like when you're 25, like having a cat makes a lot more sense than having a dog. But when you're like 45 and you have a couple kids, it makes more sense to have a dog. You know what I'm saying? The same thing is true with sports, man. With certain sports where like baseball when you're a kid, it just hits like something different. And then I feel like you get like a little cooler in high school and you're like either on hockey or basketball. You're like, these two are like the goats. And then football's always kind of there for you. But then like as you get back in this like late swing of your 20s, you're like, maybe baseball's the greatest thing ever. And that's where I am right now. But yeah, I was blessed with that 2008 Phillies team, man, and that was special. I'll never forget.
Man, I'm 39 years old, and I very much emphatically think hockey is the best thing that's ever happened to me. And
It's cool.
and Mikey will tell you that like hockey literally like changed the trajectory of his life. Like
That's sick.
by day he's a school teacher. He does this, but he also runs these meetup groups for Islanders fans literally all around the country and
That's
like
awesome.
literally the globe in some instances.
That's so sick.
And at not to toot his horn, he could tell you this himself, but I'm going to tell you it because he's not telling you it, is that his logo is in UBS Arena where the Islanders play. Like when you go
Damn.
to see the Islanders, you could look up and see the Isles Meetups logo in Charlotte. And it's just, it blows my mind to think that like
That's awesome.
he was able to like take something that he loved so much and like stretch it and pull it like taffy, and it ended up turning into this big like enormous thing. And
So cool.
that kind and I say that to say this because like I feel like Origami Angel was very much that way. You guys put out this first couple of EPs, and like you were still like a very little incubated sort of thing, and then all of a sudden Somewhere City hits and people are like, oh shit, like we gotta check Origami Angel out. And then you start to gain more and more popularity, and Gami Gang comes out, more and more popularity. You just keep on that upward trajectory through the brightest days. And then here we come with Feeling Not Found, right, which is like, in my opinion, is like the apex of your work. Is like
Damn.
it's like as of right, and maybe whatever is coming next for you guys will end up taking that crown. But as of right now, Feeling Not Found is like, to me, the most complete package of what Origami
Wow.
Angel is. And
Damn.
what, like, did you go into creating Feeling Not Found with any different of a mindset that you ever had? Or was it just kind of business as usual for you?
There was definitely a different mindset. I appreciate you saying it's the apex.
Yeah, of course,
I
man.
go mentally. I think, slight tangent here. I don't think like, every band. How should I say this? No band is ever gonna release an album and be like, we just released our new album. The last one's way better.
Right, of course.
Everyone's gonna be like, the most recent one is sick. So I think I almost kind of try to yin my own yang there and be like, oh, well, the other ones are good too. And I
Sure.
always kind of have this like hopping around in these seasons of my life where I'm like, maybe Comic Gang's the best one. And I'm like, and then sometimes I'll listen back or we'll play Somewhere City and I'll be like, they got a point. That one's pretty fucking good too. But but I feel great about Feeling Not Found. I think I'm lucky enough to feel really good about everything that we've ever released. But going into Feeling Not Found, definitely after Gami Gang was more of the note scribble around and the lunatic ramblings, and Brightest Days was kind of like a little slice of life beach episode of the anime. Feeling I Found was definitely the one where I was working on it in the background, akin to the Somewhere City, where it's like if it fits, it fits. If it doesn't, it's going on something else. You know?
Yeah.
And there are so many songs that came out before it, like on the Brightest Days type of things, or Return and Depart. And there's so many songs that came or will come after that could have been on it, but it didn't feel right because it was one of those ones that it had to feel like Feeling Not Found. And I don't know. It definitely it brewed for a really long time. That was more of the one that was in the COVID era. Um, yeah. I guess like the business that changed is that we went in with Will Yip to produce that record instead of
Wow.
like just doing it like either on our own or having someone engineer it. But yeah, we ended up going in with Will, working on the songs a little bit more together. One of the most like collaborative experiences that we've had in the studio. Uh, yeah, I guess that we just really tried to flush it out. With him in particular, it's like I knew he outside of me working with him and Gami working with him and him being a good friend, like I if I can step back, like he is one of, if not my favorite producers of all time. Like I think he fucking is the sonic color of an incredibly important and inspirational generation of music, and that's continuing to this moment. So it was just like one of those things where like we have this opportunity, and I there's this he can make stuff sound so fucking epic and big and heavy, but also still feel good enough and polished enough to be on the radio and all this stuff. Like he is really a master of the craft, and I cannot say enough good things about him. I would we'd be talking for the next hour and 30 minutes. Will is great, man, and Kevin to have that opportunity to really like go in and be like this studio record as opposed to Gami Gang, which was done entirely in a bedroom at my parents' house, you know. So it definitely wasn't business as usual. It's probably business as usual for some bands, but for us, that was a big fucking thing to do.
Sure.
So when are you guys gonna do your live at Studio 4?
Man, he moved a lot of that stuff out of Studio 4. It's in memory now. I don't know if they're going to continue doing live sessions. I assume they're going to do live with memory music.
They have, especially after that starting line set, man. Like,
yeah, that one's great.
that one, the balance and composure and the movement sets are just like
Yep,
some of
those
the
are like
best live.
some of the three best ones. Some of the three best ones.
He's just like Will Yip is just like one of the, I would say, like, if we had a Mount Rushmore of like producers in the emo field,
Yeah,
he would probably be up there, if not like the second or third person on that Mount Rushmore.
yeah, he's the goat to me, man.
Now, did he push you vocally? Because I noticed a huge change, right? And like, I always felt emotionally connected to you vocally, like just the lyrics and everything. But like, this is the first release where I was like, man, Ryland's voice sounds like pretty. Like it sounds like
I appreciate that.
really polished. Like, did you go in like wanting to push yourself vocally on that album?
Absolutely. I've gone through some trials and tribulations vocally, where there I remember talking to people and like my mom actually in particular was like one time I was talking to her, I was like, oh, I just don't see myself as a singer. And she was like, that's pretty fucking stupid because you sing in the band. Like you're gonna have to do that. Not in like a oh, you are a singer. She was just like pretty dumb to not think that you're a singer because it's what you do. And it's like if you want to be good, you're gonna have to think about yourself like that. I was like, you know what? That's pretty honest and hurtful, but it's awesome too. And sometimes you just need to see that and hear that. But yeah, I really didn't think of myself as a singer. I was always an outlet. It was always like a means to an end type of thing. But over the years, I think I got more comfortable with my own voice. In the time in between Gami Gang and Feeling Not Found, I think I was able to really practice and really get good. I mean, there's like 200 shows that happen in between there, right? And I think I was able to really, really get familiar with my own voice in a way that I never had. But on top of that, Will definitely pushed me. He pushed me a lot. Just like in a less technical way and more in a feeling way. And I guess that was really important to me. It's something I've taken into my own production too when I'm working with other bands where he didn't want necessarily the greatest note take. He wanted the best emotion. And I guess that experience on the record really, really helped me be able to channel emotion more in my voice in a comfortable way. And on top of that, I think the performance is probably easily the best on any record. Like tracks like Blue Light Blooms, I think it is really, really solid vocally. I'm very happy with it. But I think the thing that speaks to me more when I listen back or when we work together is just like the fact that focusing on that emotion um, ended up making it so much more natural. So much everything else was better too. The sound was better, the mix was better, the feeling is better, and just like that's the greatest thing about working with him is that, you know, I think I went in expecting all this technical wizardry, which he has as well. Like second to none in terms of the engineering stuff, but just to have all that, but be more focused on the emotion of the music, it was really refreshing because I think sometimes the studio can get so technical and so angular and so about the gadgets and stuff. And I fall into that too, man. I got who knows how much worth of preamps right next to me, but it just getting back to that. Oh yeah, it's about the music, it's about the songs, about the emotion, and pushing that emotion out. I think that is what to me when I listen back, I'm like, I do sound like how I'm supposed to sound in this moment, you know? So yes, it's answering a really long way. He pushed the shit out of me.
No, it's which is a great thing, being able to say that you've got, someone who's in your corner that's really trying to get the best out of you is a good thing. Now, when you are like conceptualizing music and stuff and you're going back and forth with Pat, like how do you guys communicate with each other musically? Like is it like music theory communication, or is it more like, oh, I'm gonna start on this A and I'm gonna do this and I want you to do da 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 da. Like, do you guys like talking like that music speak, or do you guys like are you guys like no, this is a like a B flat major and it's gonna resolve into G minor, and like how do you guys like have those conversations with each other when you're writing?
Yeah. Well, the way our writing flow usually works is that I come up with like the majority of the melodics and stuff. Um, just the guitar and stuff. And I'll probably send out a demo with very bare bones drum structure. But when we're really getting into the nitty gritty of it, like figuring the stuff out, I'm mostly having those conversations internally to myself where it's like the resolutions and the extensions. But
Hmm.
I've tried over, honestly, like since the band started to make those decisions a um, less with a quill in my hand and more with an idea of how it feels, similarly to the vocal thing. But where I would do extensions that probably are fucked up on guitar, but they made me feel good. You know what I'm saying? It made me feel something. And
Yeah.
that's kind of where I wanted to do. I was very theory pilled throughout high school, but I made the effort when I was around 17 or 18 to try to relearn my relationship with harmony and with modes and stuff way in a way more of how it made me feel, right? So like, and it was very, I don't know if it's real. I don't know if I tenfold had my way into this, but I just downloaded a theory app. But instead of answering or thinking about intervals the way in a mathematical way, I would start to play a second or a third or a sus4 add six and feel it more than hear it, if that makes sense. And I guess I tried to, and this sounds so like the like armchair, like whatever, but I tried to reevaluate my feelings with it because I think there's a lot of people who can go down that theory rabbit hole and start to never feel about music the same way they did before. And I guess I was trying to think about it in a more emotional way because that's to me, I'm in a fucking emo band. Like music is emotional. Um, that might sound crazy, like when you think like the feeling thing, but to me it's real. But when we're getting into this stuff, I think I I think we get into a I get into a very like producery talk. Like instead of being like, oh, can we do this thing? I go like a
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll do that, and then we'll work on it. And I'll be like, what if it was that fill instead was like, and we tend to talk that way. It's how I would talk to someone if I was recording their
Hell
band too.
yeah,
So
man.
like, I end up getting more back to that.
Drum language. I love it, man.
Yeah.
It's one of the best languages. And the best thing about it is just like when you have like you've kind of found your musical soulmate, it's when like
Mhm.
you could just like speak that like kind of nonsense that like nobody else would know what you're talking about. But like he
Straight up.
just is locked in. He's like, all right, I got it. And then he reproduces it and you're like, shit, man. Like, yes, yes, like yes, and it's like
Yeah.
it's so wild to think that like you could go that theoretical route. Yeah. Or you could just speak what you want and just like say, hey, like I'm feeling it like this. And then, you know, when you put the two together, they're just harmonious in a way that's great. And so many people to talk about like feeling versus like theoretical kind of stuff. So many people go to school for music, right? And they end up dropping out because they find that their relationship with art is changing. You know, it's
Yeah.
becoming too mathematical. It's becoming too boilerplate. And I totally understand that. And I think that, you know, to operate off of feeling is probably the best way to do it, because you're going to get the best type of, you know, kind of output that, you know, you might not get if you were trying to be too techy, you know?
I wholeheartedly agree. Yeah, I guess like you can really miss the forest for trees or whatever it is, like when you get down that stuff. Just because, you know, I did music school for a little bit and super dropped out for the same reason.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nothing about the program, it's just about like what you go into it. And when you start to think about it as instead of a tool, and when you start thinking about it as the only way, you know, that's when you start to really trap yourself. And especially as a creative person, you can't do that. You know, if you go your whole life, like, if you only think about the tools, you're gonna have every tool ever, and you're not gonna know what the fuck to do with it. Because I would rather, you know, put me in a room with a hammer and a nail and a regular, you know, item that you want me to build, instead of I would rather have that than every fucking tool and circular saw and everything you could ever have, but you don't know what you're trying to build. If I don't know what I'm trying to build, I'm gonna build nothing. So, um, yeah, I guess that's the way I've always looked at it, and since that experience. Tools are good, though.
When Tom goes into his drum talk, I have no idea what the hell he's talking about.
Hey, man. I love it. So I try to be trilingual. I try to speak drum talk. I try to speak guitar. I try to speak English, too. So,
Yeah.
you know, I got to be able to do it all,
Fluent.
just to be able to get all the ideas across.
Amen. Now, I'm just curious. I saw it was announced not too long ago that you guys are doing all the dates of the Warp Tour, and specific. What
Except for DC.
is that really
Which is
true?
wild.
Super true and real, yeah. We
Oh my
played DC
God.
last year.
Okay, all right. So you got one home show Warp Tour under your belt, but playing like Montreal and Mexico City, like those are some cool spots. So are you looking for, like, have you played Mexico yet?
Never played Mexico, never played Montreal. We've done a couple Canada shows, both the East and the West Coast, but never Montreal. But yeah, we've done nothing, I guess, south is if you're on this side of the world, we have not gone further south than Texas, except for maybe parts of you know what I'm trying to say. We have not gone to Mexico. We have not done Latin America. So I'm super excited for that. That's gonna be an incredible experience.
Now I'm sure it's not announced yet, but are you guys like trying to extend that and possibly play more shows around that, or is that going to be strictly like flying into Mexico, play that show, and then fly back out?
I think we might not do an extension yet. 'Cause I don't know if we're ready to do it. We have a lot of other things that we want to get done this year. We'll probably be touring at some point, but I really want to focus in, make a record. Kind of the warps are an interesting experience because we can kind of just channel that for 3 or 4 days at a time, and then get back to the more creative things. So this is definitely like a creative building year for us, and definitely for me too as an individual.
That's so like just different to hear someone talk about, like, yeah, I can go in and do like 3 dates of the Warp Tour and like just focus for those 3 dates, but like it was such a grind in the early 2000s and like late 90s
Yeah.
when like bands literally had to sacrifice their entire summer to do it. So like,
Yeah, straight up. Like hearing the bands like the Wonder Years talk about it, or I mean, they're the people that we know that done that a ton. Where it was like that was built into your year, where it's like, okay, like that's gonna be it every single year. Every release that we do has to strategically go around Warped Tour, and you know, it was such a grind for those bands.
Mm-hmm. And the
So
tough thing,
different.
with like Warp Tour, the way it was in its first iteration, was, I mean, you know, unless you were playing one of the two main stages, you were really, and even at the main stages, you were playing, you know, maybe 25 minutes of music, you know?
Yeah,
And it's like, you know, so many bands were of the headline variety that would go and have to shorten their set down by like 2/3, you know? And they're like,
yeah,
okay, we'll be able to play 7 songs. And it's like, the thing about Warped Tour that I loved back then was it was great that you got to get like a little lick of every flavor, like if there were 30 ice cream cones that you wanted to lick, you could lick all 30 of them, right?
Yeah.
But like you could never really savor one of them because like it was just such a short
Totally.
experience. Now the way that they've done Warped Tour is they're saying, okay, we'll do 5 or 6 dates a year, but you know, we'll let these bands come in, we'll let them play full sets, we'll let them play, you know, 45 minutes in an hour, and everybody can really get their money's worth, which I do
Yeah.
love. But I really hope, I truly do hope that these are just like the, what would we call them? The like starting points for what
The
Warped Tour is
warm up.
going to become. Because like I really do hope that in a couple of years, you know, Kevin Lyman and his team just decide, you know what, we're going to take it national again, and you know, hopefully they tool it in a way that makes it make sense. But you know,
Yeah.
I miss that about Warped Tour. You know, I miss, you know, going to every city. You know, I miss like the dingy parking lots and the terrible sunburns that you'd get, man. It was just like a rite of passage.
Yeah.
It really
Yeah,
was.
I think about the kids that truly live in the middle of nowhere, you know,
Right.
and that love this music. And sometimes for them, the only time they get to interact with this music is when it comes in a 2-hour radius of them. And that was their thing in the summer, you know, the kids in the Midwest, the people who, you know, in places in Texas, places all over the non-East or West Coast of this country, they could see, you know, 40 of their favorite bands, and it was like a really cool and important building block to the way the scene is now.
Yes.
A lot of people have grown up, you know, so but now we have a younger generation. Obviously the younger generation has a little bit easier where they can interact via online, but it's still something where, you know, that's the person I'm always thinking about, is the impressionable person who is gonna who needs to interact with their favorite music. And it might, maybe Warp stays in this kind of festival thing, and they do that. I really have no idea what they want to do, but I hope there will be something at some point, whether it's Warped. Remember, it's a little smaller because of the scale of Warped, and you know, I think we're also in a time period now where it's that stuff is dope, but we also got to make sure the artists are good too.
Of course.
We got to make sure that artists aren't dying on, and we're, you know, like that everyone is taken care of, and make sure that these drives aren't crazy for them, because you know you hear horror stories, people getting in accidents just trying to make stuff like that happen. But I wonder if there will be something in between, whether it's them, whether it's someone else who will make a space for these people that don't really have a space right now. You know, I would love to see anything sort of close to that.
Amen.
Even if it's something, maybe Gami does that, Albuquerque and Salt Lake City, and there's our own thing, and like we just do a bunch of fucking weird festivals and for the people in the middle of nowhere. You know, not that those places are in the middle of nowhere, but they're close to the middle of nowhere.
Do it up. You just
I'll do
threw
whatever,
you
man.
threw it out in the airwaves, man. Like anything can happen now.
Yeah. Fuck it, man. I'll do whatever. I'll do anything.
Now, I do want to bring it to another festival because I do feel like I'm cursed with me never really getting to see Origami Angel. I was at Four Chord Music Festival when literally during your set, a tornado came in.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And like,
I didn't know you were there, man. That was fucking insane.
yeah, so
Oh my
I'm
God.
like 0 for 2 right now for Origami Angel.
I hope they're not listening. You remember how crazy it was? They made me go on the stage and tell them that we were not going to play. That was crazy. I was like, you go say that shit. They're going to be mad. They're going to be mad. I was like, I don't want to say that. Like, they're like, could you please, like, just like, people are getting antsy. I'm like, I'm going to go up there. It's going to be weird. Like, it's going to be so weird. It's I was like, whatever, man. Shout out them, I guess. But that was fucking awkward. I had to pull up. Sorry. We're totally not playing. What the?
Yeah,
Go to the other stage, man. I don't know. Shit, man. That was an interesting day.
it sure was. And I really thought that it was going to be done. And then like it was done for like 4 hours. And then like brought it back and still had Yellow Card and Taking Back Sunday play like literally
They
4
still
hours.
played. Like TBS played an acoustic set, right?
Yeah, and like no one was there. I actually was going back to my hotel. I was going back to my hotel.
Yeah, straight up. We were probably
turned
at
around.
the same hotel, dog, because I was like, I'm getting the fuck out of here. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah, that was a interesting festival, but I think they do a great job bringing, you know, 30 bands to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in the middle of summer or whatever,
Yeah, I mean,
maybe even
it is
more.
cool.
Yeah, it was a cool spot. But yeah, 0 for 2 seeing Origami Angel. I gotta fix that.
Damn, dog. I'm sorry. We'll fix it. We'll fix it.
Yeah, it's just like sometimes you really are just like there's just like a curse. It's like a
That's true.
it's like a Danhausen curse. It's just like you're cursed, and like that's it. Like you just you got to just suck it up. But like I guarantee you that um these smaller festivals, the ones that like you guys have played, I like like Fochella, of course, and
Mhm.
like Excellency, and like all of these like kind of smaller festivals that have
Pugfest.
been built. Yeah, exactly. In very much a DIY way, which I think is a great thing. And that kind of harkens back to your roots, being that, I mean, like you literally, I mean, you worked with Will for this last record, but like everything before that was all pretty much produced in house. So that was all kind of like you had your hands in the Play-Doh. And was it hard to give that up, or was it like a relief to give that up with?
It was a little bit of both, honestly. I had no real expectation other than that I was like, don't fuck this up. Don't make Will think you're not cool.
Right.
He's the coolest guy ever.
Right.
Like that's kind of like when I went in. I remember meeting him the first day before we ever worked on the record, because our manager manages Will too. That was actually like the ultimate hookup.
Cool. Awesome.
And like I remember the day Will followed us on Twitter. I was like, damn, I'm scared now. Like I'm like I didn't give a fuck who thought about what anybody thought about our tweets until now. Now I'm like, shit. Like I'm like, I can't make an unfunny joke. But and then the day we met, we all went to a Sixers game together.
Thanks.
And he came out of the control room and dapped me up, and I was like, oh, I feel like I've known this dude for 12 years. There was no hesitation there. And I was like, okay, fuck yeah, this guy's awesome. And it was super comfortable. To answer your question, it was a little bit hard for me, but at the same time, it was someone who I just off prior knowledge, I trust with so much of the vision. And just talking to him about the record before we were working on it together, like just texting about it, I was like, he understands. Like he is only there to heighten the vision. He I, he just fucking gets it. I don't know. I can't explain it in any way that where I think I was nervous until we started doing it, and then I was just like, instead of someone else having their hands in the Play-Doh, it was more like he kind of brought way more Play-Doh and was like, let's fucking make something out of this, man. Like, let's just do the same thing. We just, instead of blue, now we got blue and red and green and yellow and all these other colors of Play-Doh.
Hell yeah.
And it tastes just as good as it used to. So, like, it's going to be fucking awesome.
It is delicious. It really is.
Dude, yeah, that's what I'm saying, bro. I'll tell people that. I'll be like, you might look at me crazy, but it did taste good. And what the hell? Why'd you eat it? I'm like,
you can make your own Play-Doh. What is it? Really just like flour and like
salt? Yeah.
What, like water? I don't know.
Yeah, you can super do it. I've done it when I was a kid.
Love that. I love that. I remember in first grade making my own ice cream, like with like the bag, and you put the ice
bag
in
the ice, bro.
And you fucking do the milk, and then
shake it.
You kind of get ice cream,
good.
but it's not really ice cream. It's like,
this shit's so good too.
It is, dude. Ice cream is a fucking like. Is that okay? Speaking of just not necessarily ice cream, but like in terms of like you guys being out on the road and stuff, like are there like 24-hour drive through? Obviously, like you guys love fucking McNuggets and fucking McDoubles and shit. I love that.
Absolutely.
But like, is there anything like out on tour that like you guys like are like, oh, we gotta hit this spot up, or we gotta hit this spot up, or like any spots that like you've been to that have just had like the most incredible food where you've been like, holy fuck, like I can't eat enough of this shit.
Honestly, it's so much lamer than us like having a spot. It's just like we're always on the demon time of like, all right, we're all trying to do something. We never, like our touring crew, we never do the same thing for lunch.
Okay.
Like everyone kind of breaks off, and we're just like, oh, dude, I'm on the like I don't want to go too far. I don't want to leave the venue that much. I'm like, I'll just figure something out, whether it's something close. Usually I'll just look up like who's got the best chicken sandwich in town, like who got the best Nashville hot chicken sandwich, and just go get that. Just like I like to keep chicken as a main protein
Okay.
on the days that I'm singing. I don't know why. It's probably not that good, but like it feels good to me. But it's at nighttime where we're like, man, let's go to fucking Waffle House, man.
Yeah.
Like let's just like and whenever we're around, we are going to Waffle House. If it's close, we're gonna be there, man. And what's crazy is that now they do deliver, which did not used to exist, but it also delivers well, depending on what you get. So on this last tour we were on with Story So Far, I was on some demon time where I was like, "You want Waffle House? Tap in. If you don't, fuck you. I'm getting this." You know, like and it's only on tour, never at home. It's not too close to me. I think it's like 30 minutes out the way, 40 minutes out the way. But if we're around one, you can bet at least 2-3 members of the Origami Angel tour crew are gonna be in there.
So, Ryland, what is your Waffle House order?
Yeah, I'm pretty standard, man. I'm an all-star special guy. I'm just gonna do scrambled eggs with cheese. I'm gonna go. If it's morning, I'm gonna get a coffee. If it's not, I'm probably just gonna get water, maybe orange juice if I'm feeling a little under the weather. Maybe get a little vitamin C going on. Pretty standard. Hash browns, no grits. I'm gonna go bacon and priest. And if it's like, oh, we got an off day next day, I'm hitting the chocolate chips on a waffle just to be a demon. But yeah, I'm pretty standard. I've gone on tour with some guys who have some crazy orders. But I'm pretty run of the mill. Probably they get that 25, 45 times a day.
Yeah,
you know?
but they get it so often they're just like
They
just make
know it.
make it great. You know,
Drops on the fucking plate, man. It
You know, it's
spawns
not-
in like Minecraft.
it's not like someone's
awesome.
asking for fucking 10 egg whites and fucking sausage gravy where they're like, bro, we don't even have egg whites.
Never
Like,
get the sausage gravy. It's all pre-made. They just dump it from a pot. That's disgusting.
I'm good, bro.
Nah, man.
I'll never forget one time we were driving down to Fest, and my girlfriend had never had grits before, and I was like, I don't think you know what this is. Like I was like, I know that the first time you have this, being at a Waffle House, like it's gonna feel crazy. And then she was like, "This feels crazy," and I was like, "Yeah, like this is just not the time to do this," you know? Like
true.
2:00 in the morning at a
Yeah.
Waffle House. I was like, we could have picked a better environment to introduce someone not familiar with Southern cuisine.
Yeah, they just like dump a pile of grits on her plate, and there's somebody fighting over in the corner, and someone's putting on fucking Freebird on the jukebox, and you're just like, oh my god, Waffle House.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
Love that.
We all gotta get back to. That's what America's about. We gotta get back to those roots, you know.
Couldn't agree with you more, man. I really couldn't agree with you more. So I have one last question for you, or rather, more of a statement than anything. But it's crazy to me,
Speech.
right? That like, you know, all of these bands kind of exist in the same sphere, right? And it's a big sphere, but you know, just to song explode you real quick, I'm gonna give you the last 8 lines of Sixth Sense, right? I'm gonna read it to you, and I'm gonna talk to you about it. All right. So
Okay, hit me.
So you got to stick through the bullshit. Prove that you're in love with music by reinforcing this useless platform. Fucking abuse it. Make money that you'll never see. It disappears magically, but you would do this for free, right? That's where they got you wrong.
Bars.
That commentary on the music industry, I feel like nobody else is man enough to say it, but you guys said it.
Yeah, I feel like there's definitely people mad enough.
Or I shouldn't say man enough. That's like very like fucking stupid, but like didn't have like the gall to say it, you know?
No one. I'm sure that there are people doing it. Maybe not as on the like. I feel like there are a lot of people way smarter than me that are able to tie their words in this way more eloquent way. And I feel like maybe I'm just the one that will say exactly what's on my mind with no metaphor, with no nothing. But yeah, I mean, that's just where it was at that time, you know, for that track. Yeah, I don't know, man. That was a weird, that just came out. And,
I mean, but it is, but it, like it is eloquent. Like, even though like you might want to say like, oh, it's kind of on the nose and blah, blah, blah. And it's like not shrouded in like metaphor or anything like that, but it is eloquent. And especially the last two lines when you say, but you would do this for free, right? That's where they got you wrong. Because I think so many people in this fandom don't really realize that, like, yes, this is something you do because you love the art. Yes, you have a passion for this. And, you know, but at the same time, like, this is your job, right? Like,
Yeah.
this is how
And
this is how you make money. This is how you support yourself and your girlfriend and the people in your life. Like, I think a lot of people still in 2026 don't really realize that, like, that's the reality of things is if you don't play the game, like, you're going to be left out in the cold. And it sucks to have to play that game. It really does suck. And, you know, you guys were bold enough to mention it, but, like, is that something that, like, still, you know, we're a bit removed from Feeling Not Found coming out, and I'm sure we're a bit removed from, you know, the conceptualization of the song, but is that something you still really feel to this day?
Of course. I mean, like, I feel lucky enough that with Origami Angel, we have almost created our own little insular version of a music industry, of a music economy that we are able to more consistently rely on. But at the end of the day, you're absolutely right, where it's like, I think it's not that people don't realize it or are unwilling to realize it. I think that it's just, it's a hard thing to really fully put into perspective unless you've done it. But, like, for example, last year, a lot of it is my own doing. We played 116 shows and I was away for 190 days. And that's more than half a year. It's like, you know, and it's like, sure, there's that in the middle of the day on tour. It's like there's not that much you're doing, but it's still a time and place where I'm not at home with my family. I'm not home with my girlfriend. I'm not doing so that I'm not in school. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the time that I could have been investing into education or community college where I dropped out is like I was putting that into fucking, you know, DIY touring and playing 30 minutes a night and then driving 15 hours to Iowa the next day, you know. And it's obviously it's all my choice, so it's all what I've done, but I do think that there is a glamorized version of what it's like to be. There's a more extreme version that sometimes we can make it out to be, oh, it's fucking, you know, all these people. And I think the truth really lies somewhere in the middle, right? Where I do love it. And honestly, my biggest problem is I would do it for free if I could, you know? And it's like, it's the same thing I feel a way about, like, when I'm working on a band's record that's not Gami, if I'm producing it, like, I would fucking do it for free because I just love creating music that much that I will say that to someone I meet it, where I'm like, if you don't fucking have the money, I get it, bro. I don't know if you caught on, but the world's about to fucking end. So, like, let's just figure this shit out. We'll do whatever if we need to. But, like, in that's a character flaw of mine, is that I won't be thinking about the money sometimes. Is that I will take less for way more to do way more. Because I do love it that much, and that's just something that I've in the last year I've kind of come to realize is like my calling card. I've known people who are just like, I'm gonna outwork anybody, or I have I really believe that if I'm in a room and we're working on music together, whether it's Gami or anything like that, it's like someone could love it as much as me, but no one will love it more. I just know that nobody will be in love with what we're doing more than myself. And the back half of that is understanding this puts me in a position to get fucked over a lot, you know? And then there's so many other people like that too. There's so many people who are they love what they do so much that they're to be this vulnerable is to put yourself in a position to be fucked over. That's just that's what it is. Creating a career out of vulnerability, financial and emotional vulnerability, is gonna put you in a position to get fucked over. And it happens to everyone. You know, if you're not getting fucked over a ton, you're getting fucked over half a ton. And it's just it's just what it is. Every single person is facing some sort of hardship. Any person with any semblance of a career in the music industry, especially an artist, is going to face some sort of hardship. But the same thing goes to the touring crew members. The same thing goes to certain managers. The same thing goes to so many people that are in here of a food chain that all the money is up here. You know, it's just a thing.
But it also seems like you guys have such a great relationship with your label, right? Like
Yeah, absolutely.
which is like weird to hear, but I guess, you know, being DIY for so long, like, I don't know, it's kind of part of your DNA. So like when you have a label that's kind of just like homies and on your team, like you're not, like you mentioned, just like thinking dollars and cents, and it's more of, you know, give a little, take a little from each other. And it seems
Yeah,
like it works
absolutely.
for you guys.
Yeah, it's I'm lucky to say it's been symbiotic for such a long time, and I think it's that Jake from Counterintuitive is just like so down for us to just fucking do whatever, man, and work on it. Um, Very transparent, and it all works for us. And yeah, I'm really stoked with everything that we've done with Jake. Like it's been an amazing experience. And I don't like, again, another person who I have such a admiration for what they do and the way they do it in, that I could talk about counterintuitive for such a long time too. I think in a time in the music industry that really needed some artist friendly labels, I think Jake stepped in and did it in a really holistic way, without really sacrificing any sort of the upward mobility. And I think you could just look and see so many bands have built their shit on that label. So many bands, like, and it's got to the point where like me and Jake are such good friends. Like we have gone on, you know, vacations together. Like, and I don't know how many vacations people have been on where it's 4 people. It's your booking agent, it's your it's your label manager, it's your tour manager, and it's you. You know, but it was a sick time. And um yeah, that's obviously a huge part of the story too, is that there's a lot of things that I could super say confidently on a song like Sixth Sense without, you know, feeling like anybody's gonna be mad at me. And a part of that is having the backing of really our whole team and the whole community, the whole family, but specifically a label that's not gonna get mad when I say
Right,
that
yeah,
that's
exactly,
bullshit.
because, you know, when you write a line like that, like, you know, Epitaph would be ringing you up, being like, "Hey guys, you know, could you think you could change those lyrics? 'Cause, you're
Yeah.
making us feel like assholes here." And it's like, "Well,
Yeah.
you guys are assholes." So,
Not my words, by the
ding
way.
dong.
Fuck it though.
Yeah, it's got to go with it.
Absolutely. Well,
Fuck it. They are my words.
fuck yeah. No, and you know what? And good for you for saying them, man, because, you know, like, someone like me would read that and just be like, "Wow, like, you know, that's hitting the nail on the head." Like, it really is. Like, that's a microcosm of what the industry is. And, you know, if you are lucky enough to, you know, hit the right spots and talk to the right people and play the right music, you know, you might have a career in this. But, you know, there are so many bands, you know, Mikey and I talk about it all the time. You know, we grew up in this, you know, early to mid 2000s emo scene where, you know, bands came and went so frequently because there was just no money to be made. You know,
Yeah,
a
straight
band
up.
would go out on a two you know, a month tour, and they'd end up, you know, 2 grand in the red, and they'd be like, "Well, let's sell our gear and, you know,
Yeah.
and break even, and then we're done." And, you know, and so many good bands. Now, the one of the good things though is that some of those bands that had those small little tenures are starting to pop back up now, knowing that, you know, alternative music has a little bit more of a broad reach, and you could sell it more now. So now
Straight up.
some of these bands are coming back, and, you know, you could be on the fence about it, and there's a divide. There's some people that say, "Oh, it's great this old band is back because now we get to experience them and love them again, and that's great." And then there are other people on the other side of the fence that are saying, "Well, they're just back, you know, to make some money, and, you know, they'll eventually fuck off again," right? But, like, who knows?
Yeah.
But the reality
The
is, like,
truth's somewhere in the middle, you know? The truth
exactly.
is
And if
somewhere
it's
in the
somewhere in
middle.
the middle, I'll take that. It's good for me.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man.
Listen, yeah. Like, yeah, I mean, how are, like, I mean, look at fucking American football, bro.
Yes. Perfect
Nobody
example.
gave a shit about that,
Perfect example.
but, you know, it gets this second, third, fourth wind of its life off of Tumblr in like 2011.
Mhm.
And it's like, okay, well, now this is one of the most relevant bands in alternative music and haven't made a record in
Yep.
over a decade.
Mhm.
And now we're 3 records into a second career. That most recent one, I'm interested in this new one too, but that most recent one I think is fucking
Fantastic.
incredible. Like,
Great record.
it's so cool, and that's that shit that's really inspiring, man. Because it's like, okay, you see people who are literally decades into a music career at a, you know, at a time when that came out, I was like 20 or 21, and it's like, okay, these people are 20 years older than me, and they're making some of the best music in their entire career. That's some inspirational ass shit. Because when you're in that bag, you know, that was me writing fucking all these records and having a billion songs, I'm feeling like I'm not gonna be able to write music when I'm older. Like I'm just not gonna have the sauce.
Right,
But you
right.
see that, you're like, there's a chance. There's a chance you can make stuff, and
Absolutely.
it's always great. And there's countless examples. That Page of the Line is another one that comes to mind.
Agreed. Yep,
Where
another
it's
great
like
one.
so long into a career where you're still writing amazing songs and making the stuff you want to make, and it's like, is that is the money involved for
Of
sure,
course.
but at the same time, you don't get something that sounds as good as American Football LP3 if they don't love that shit, and you don't get something as good as that 2019 Pedro Lion record.
Agreed.
Forgive me for not remembering the name at the
Phoenix,
moment, or the
baby.
ones that are after. I need to jam the most recent one that came out. That's like 2024. I was jamming.
Havasu, yeah, it's
Yeah.
another good one, man.
Havasu is sick. I
Yeah.
remember the rollout because we were on the tour with Microwave and I was jamming it like every morning. The first couple singles and being like, my guy, my goat still got it. But yeah, it's like you see that and so you can't make records like that, and you can't make fucking 3 comeback records if you don't love it. You can't make a Starting Line Eternal Youth record if you don't love it, man. And that's a great example too, because that record is so like, it's like you never left, you know? It's insane to have a moment like that and just like, same thing. You see something like that so inspirational. We're like, how many years are we off their debut, which is like one of the most heralded debuts of all time?
Yeah. 25,
Like
26 years, man.
25 years,
Absolutely.
yeah, almost
Easy.
25 years from that. It's okay, yeah, like that's amazing. That wasn't happening in the 90s. That wasn't happening in
Agreed.
like
Yeah.
who had a comeback record in the 90s? Neil Young.
Right,
Like
yeah.
it wasn't fucking. It
Metallica came
wasn't-
out with Reload, right? Fucking okay.
Yeah. We weren't getting the Starting Line. We weren't getting these bands that were, had such a smaller space in an alternative thing, but that
Yeah.
were still so important.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's so interesting to see how this infrastructure changed. And of course, they're not going to do it without any money because it takes money to make the fucking thing. But
It does, yep.
it's so you can't make that record. You cannot tell me that Kenny doesn't love music as much or more than he did than 2003.
Yeah. Absolutely,
All it took was
man.
Taylor Swift mentioning him. Now he's back.
Yeah.
For real.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah,
I
buddy.
should. Maybe I should get back.
All right, Ryland, man. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us, man. This has been such a blast.
Of course, guys.
Real quick for our listeners who are unfamiliar with Origami Angel, just maybe give us a quick shout out of your socials where we could find you, all that fun shit.
Sure thing. Yeah. It's gonna be at Gami Gang. Yeah, just at Gami Gang on the everything app. It's Gami.gang on Instagram. You can look up Origami Angel wherever you listen to music. And you can like listen to that stuff too. You could type us into Google and you could look at like places that sell our vinyl. That helps too if you like the records. A lot of them are on pretty color stuff. I would like to think that it looks pretty good. But honestly, yeah, just give it a listen. If it's not your thing, I don't blame you, man. Just keep doing you. Have a great life. Hope you enjoy this conversation because somehow you got this far. But yeah. That's us. You can find me on Instagram posting about my cat and my partner and fucking guitar pedals. Ryland.Heagy. So for some interesting little introspective things. We're actually probably gonna see a lot of basketball stories. That's it.
Before we go, because since Tom got drum talk, top 3 pedals you can't live without.
Top 3 pedals I can't live without. Okay. I'll shout out. Here, I got you. Hold up 1 second. As of right now, go these guys.
My man's bringing
This kind of
them
makes
over.
me look like a dickhead. Yeah.
That's fine.
This makes me look like a dickhead. Because
Boss
This is-
DS1, Boss
this is
Metal
an
Zone.
op amp muff that I built. And
That's sick.
I use this on every record I record. I love this thing so much. This is the HM2 clone that I built. I built all these pedals in COVID just for the vibes. This is why it makes me look like a dick, is because 2 of them are from my hand. But
That's so cool,
I
though.
fucked up this HM2 in a way where it sounds worse in a good way, worse than anything I've ever heard HM2 sound make. And I love that. And like when I track heavy bands, this is always one we grab, and we're usually like, that's even too crazy for this, but I love it for that. And then the third one is shout out to my homie from Stray Circus, PG County legend, who made this pedal with my fucking cat on it, which I
Aw.
really like. That's my beautiful little Penny cat. Her name is Penny. when she was a infant, probably about 4 weeks old when we first took her in. And this is an awesome pedal. This one is the best sounding one. But yeah, I've used all three of these a ton recently. I probably can't live without these. I do love some amp gain most of the time, but these three give me something no amp.
Love
Fuck,
that.
Yeah, that is incredible, man. Thank you so much, man, again for taking the time to do this with us. This has been a blast.
Of course.
We will let you go into the great night, but thank you so much for all the tunes and everything over the years. We're really excited for what's to come in the future. We wish you all the best playing Warped Tour, coming up this year, and whatever shows and gigs you guys have. Just be safe out there on the road, and
Gonna try.
keep doing what you do, man. So on that note, on behalf of Mikey and Justin, it's been Tommy V. We've had Ryland from Origami Angel, and we will catch you on the flippity flip. Take care.
Thanks, y'all.
Peace.
Damn, let's go.